Hello. I am an abused husband who's forced into slave labor. I've been forced to build all of these things. What she has decided that her slaved husband will do today is build a spinner. She doesn't want just any cup spinner. She would like it 6 foot long, 6 spinners on it with 8 drying racks. So, this is what we've come up to do. We have here, you with this cameraman? Is this your birthday?
That's my birthday.
Cameramen are so hard to find.
Camera woman.
Weird. This right here is the phalanges. Everybody's been asking when they saw Farrah's, the last one that we built on there. And these phalanges are 3/4 inch phalanges. You can get them at Home Depot. And this is what they looked like before we painted them. The great thing about these things is this is a 3/4 inch fitting that you can get on the PVC in Home Depot, and it will literally screw into there. And then what we do is we can take this and put it here, and we cut it a little bit, and then we can put this on top of there and cut this in half, and it creates a tray that the spinner can spin in. So it works really good that way. So this is all of our equipment, all of our stuff that we're going to be using. This is my lovely assistant.
Say hi.
She's had a hard life.
That's our son, Talon.
Oh. So this is all the stuff that we're going to use. We're going to use regular old flip switches, because I'm being told that the smaller switches that you can use, people have trouble flipping them or getting a hold of them or toggling them. So we're just going to use light switches. I bought the cheapest thing I could find for light switch covers, because I'm going to paint them. And there's nothing else to do with that. This is just a hole driver.
What size?
1 inch, I believe. And what it does is push buttons.
I'm leaving that in there just so you know.
Should be bloopers for the end.
We're recording.
Wow.
That's because he takes after his mother.
You're so funny.
All right, so we're back. We're here to build this thing. So what we have here is we have these boards here. This is a, This is a bit not as straight as we'd hope, but it'll work.
Yes, they gave us a warp board
Yeah.
for the second time.
We'll have to, so what we'll do is we'll drill a small pilot hole in there, and then we'll kind of cinch it down with screws so it'll stay on there. So what we have here is you have 2 different types of boards, and just so you guys can see. The one is like this, and then we have one that's slightly taller. The shorter board is what's going to be on the bottom, and the taller boards is what's going to be on the sides. The reason that we do that is it gives us enough height to have our motors put through here. So what we have is these little motors. Now on this particular one, I have 2 different speeds. I have this speed has 1 revolution per minute on here, and it's just a little like microwave turntable motor. You can get them on Amazon. I'm sure Farrah will be able to tell you how to do that. Now this one will do 2.5 to 3 revolutions in a minute, so they're faster. And what Farrah's decided is that she wants 1 motor, the slow motors on the end, and then the fast motors through here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put these 2 motors all on there, and we're going to drill the holes with these. This is going to punch our holes, and we're going to do some measuring. Now this board is 6 foot long, so we're probably going to go about every foot and put a hole dead center of this board so we can do that. That'll allow us to put the motors in. Now once we get the holes drilled, we're also going to have to turn and cut out squares with the Dremel that will hold the switches. And then so you'll have a switch and a motor, a switch and a motor all the way down. And that's basically the concept, is we're going to glue the 4 things together, we're going to drill some pilot holes and put some screws in there to kind of tighten it all down so it stays and it doesn't have trouble drying or falling apart or any of that stuff. And then once we get started, we'll take these, we'll wire up the switches, and I'll do a video with that, and we're going to get this stuff done. So this will all take a while. I also got some 16 gauge extension wire here. It's just wire you have them cut at Home Depot.
Can you show them both ends?
Yeah, I put 3 in there so I could put a ground wire on the plug. So not an electrician, it's pretty simple stuff. And when I take apart this plug, I'll show you guys how it all goes in there, and then you'll be able to plug it into the wall easy peasy.
Yeah, because I think that's what a lot of people are concerned about, is the wiring, like how
The wiring's not hard, it's not difficult. These motors, this is the wire that goes to these motors. It's very small. There's not much amperage going through here. These motors will heat just a little bit, but I made a 2-turner one, not just exactly like this, only it was 2 instead of 6. And it hasn't been a problem.
What we did is we left the ends open on that one.
I did leave the ends, and I'm going to do that again open so any heat that gets in there can escape, so it doesn't heat up in there, and I think that'll increase your motor life as well. We're just going to use wood bonding glue, which is going to hold it all together, and we're going to use the straightest boards that we got for that. And then all the parts, Ferrolite, that powdered blue that was in the last one. I'm assuming most of you have seen the one that I made before, and we're just going to shoot all this and all this. I suggest that you leave these switches white. Anytime you try to paint them, they're going to make a mess. They're going to stick, and then eventually all the paint will just rub off anyway.
We just paint the light cover.
Exactly. Now these are going to be the troughs that the...
Can you tell them what size that is and everything?
Yes. This is a 1 inch and 3/4 on there, and it's just a T. And what we're going to do is take the chop saw, and I'm going to cut half of the top of the T off, and then it'll just make a trough in there. So you can do that.
This is what is supporting the wands, you guys, the long that our
So we're
footballs are on.
using these for the wands, which is just 3/4 inch PVC pipes. Home Depot sells them already cut. And then what'll happen is that'll set in there on this, and as it's spinning, it'll just cradle it.
It just gives it that extra
And I only
support.
cut the top off so you don't have to try and pull it out of there. You can just lift it up and do what you need to do.
So that's what it looks like, guys. Everyone's been asking me
Those are the
what was
parts.
the support for it. It's one of these T's.
These here, she wants drying racks. So I got extra wood here. And what we're going to do is we're going to use these right here. And then if you look,
Sorry, guys, I'm not a very good cameraman.
and if you look, these little screws, they're in the electrical section of Home Depot. They're really kind of nice. I'll show you a picture of what they are. They're just rigid. Halex makes them. They're just conduit lock nuts. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole in the board. I'm going to put that in there, and then I'm going to screw that on the bottom to hold it on the board. That's it.
And that's for
So that'll
our
be sitting on the
separate
top,
drying rack.
and that'll be on the bottom. That's it. Nothing fancy, nothing spectacular, easy to do, but it'll put you a drying rack, and then while it's sitting there, you can just set them in there.
Yep. But for my Turner drying rack, we use those normally on the first one, but for this one, since these are so expensive, we're just gonna use
Yeah,
this.
because
this
these
time.
flanges are about $7 a piece.
Yeah.
So if you've got an 8 pole drying rack, you could be looking at a lot of money. Now I did feel like they were worth the $7 to hold the trough in place, because 1, it looks nice, and 2, it'll be super sturdy for your trough is spinning. You won't want anything that's going to come across. And those are just screws. Set them on the thing, put them where you want, screw them into the board.
Yep, and they're pretty heavy. But it wasn't necessary for the drying rack part, so we opted out of it this time, just because.
It's too expensive.
expensive.
I mean, you're talking about $60, $70 just for a drying rack versus, you know, these are about 30 cents. You know, it's much easier, these are about 30 cents a piece, and the board is like $5. And so for $7, you can have an 8-pole drying rack. And these, I think these are,
I think they're $1.55.
yeah, something like $1.50 a piece, and then they'll work. I have a little thing that cuts them down and puts them however long or short she wants them. So that's pretty much easy. When it comes to the stain, she just wanted this espresso stain on there, and they'll come through there. And each step I'll do a recording. This is just kind of the overall, this is the stuff I got. Now you might be wondering why there's frizzies. It's because I just got out of the pool, and this might help my frizzies on the hair, and that'll get me in there where I need to be, because it has nothing to do, absolutely nothing to do with a turner.
I mean, what little hair you have left.
Yeah, we know, I'm getting old. I did marry you.
You're so funny.
So, my slave driving wife has decided I'm going to build this spinner in one night.
Well,
I'm not happy, but we're going to get it done. So, we will be drilling some
Partially.
pilot holes into the wood. This is pine wood. If you're not familiar with pine wood, you need to understand, if you just try to put the screw into the pine wood, it will split. And when it splits, there's nothing you can do about it. Wood glue's not going to fix it. So just drill your pilot holes. The best thing to do, take a little bitty drill bit, just like this, and drill a pilot hole in there, and then you can put your screw in and it won't split. All right, I will come back to you with each individual things and the things we do, and as we go along.
and I will also post pictures along with the video because we took pictures of everything.
The prices and all of this, it was, I mean, it's not cheap because you're buying expensive stuff like this.
Yeah, and the paint.
You know, do you have to buy these things? No.
We're just showing you how we did it on the first time that you guys wanted to know how.
So that's pretty much it for now. There are some tricks that we're gonna have to do that I'm sure everyone's curious, like how do you get this big old pipe to mount into there?
How do you get that big old?
That's a trick. Magic. It's not fun, and it's not easy, and it will take some delicate stuff, but I will show you how I do it, and then if it works, awesome. If it doesn't, probably gonna blame the assistant.
And we're not saying that our way is the right way. We're saying this is how we did it.
Yeah, I'm not a mechanic, I'm not a builder, I'm not a construction guy, I'm not an electrician.
He's a
So
nurse.
if you do this at home and your house goes up in flames, I am not responsible for that. All I can tell you is I built one and mine works. So
I use it all the time.
that's what we're doing.
Non-stop.
That's where
almost.
we're going. And we'll make little videos and each little part, each little things, and then we'll try to string them together so you all can do this simply. I hate these videos where they're like, oh, we're going to do it, and then they never do it.
Which is what you're doing right now.
All right. I'm thinking about retiring from this right this second because I'm getting a lot of abuse.
Sorry. Sorry,
So,
guys.
But more to come, and we'll get you together. Exit music. Exit music. Wow.
That was bad. That's his intro music, slapping.
We should call this mom's torture methods.
Outstanding. Hi, so we're back. That was the lovely intro music from the boy. And what we're doing now is drilling our holes for the motor like I was telling you before. So this piece right here is perfectly for that motor. It's very good and it drills down. And what I did was I measured out exactly how Farrah wanted the motors and I marked them with a red marker.
Do you know what it was in case someone wants to do the exact 6?
I do. I have all the measurements written down. If you want to do this exact thing, I'll share that with you when we get back inside. So all you have to do is you put your drill right on the dot. You hold it down there and you start drilling. You get that starter. You hold it.
No, he's texting.
And then what we'll do is we'll start drilling through. And this will get warm and heat up and do all that stuff, and that's normal, that's okay. No, you're not trying to force it. It's all right. I'm busting through. My battery's going dead. And that drills the hole that you need in there that the motor will perfectly fit in.
So what you're gonna do is sand those down?
Yep. And then we'll take the sander to it and just smooth them off so it's not rough or anything around. And it'll leave something in there that you just cut out. And all you do is you take your screwdriver, put it in there, and you just push it out.
Gently.
And it'll come out. You give it to the boy. Say, I love you. That's for you. Keep it forever.
Action.
Sometimes when you break through
Oh,
on the back side, you're going to kind of push this up. See how this is? So this, you want always on this. This is going to be the inside of the board. So you always want to start drilling on the face of your board, because when you push through, pine will kind of splinter and do that. Now I'll take a sander to it and clean it up, but you wouldn't want it like that on the front of your board. And then we'll go here, 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 and then there. And then that will have all our holes, and then we will start marking out our light switches. And I'll give you all of those measurements and everything that's on a 6-foot board.
What I should tell you guys is the reason these are two like this is because of the measurements. I didn't want two light switches directly beside each other. Instead, I wanted the light switches on each side, so that made the last two closer together, which I'm okay with that because I wanted those two to be my slow ones. Just in case you're wondering why those two aren't like the rest.
Excellent. Talon will give our exit music.
Please help us.
Really?
Hi. All right. So if you'll bring the camera around here, you can look down this board and see that we've got all of our holes cut. Now once that all of our holes are cut, we need to start figuring out where we're going to place the light switches. So what I did, hand me that light switch cover. Thank you. So what I did is I know the first two ends are going to be here. So I put them here and I just colored in the squares. And then I know from my measuring that since this one's going to be on the end, my first hole is at 7 inches. My second switch is going to be at 14 inches. And then my next motor will be at 21. And then my next switch will be at 28. And then so on, all the way down. So it's going to go from the back right up against the 6-foot board. And then it's going to go 7 motor, switch is 14, 21 motor, 28 switch, 35 motor, 42 switch, 47 motor, 53 switch, 58.5 motor, 66.5 motor, and then of course that last switch will be down at the end. And that should give us this nice spacing, plenty of room for the cups, and then the 2 slow motors will be down there, ever so slightly close together. Alright, so what we're doing now is we've set all this up, we've gotten it, we've tested our motors, they'll fit right in there. We put our strings down, our wires down here, the motors fit perfectly in there with that particular deal there. And everything is set up, measured, and doing good. Now I showed you how we got the the holes drilled for here. Now I want to show you how we did the light switches. So we went through, we set the light covers where they needed to be, and then I just made a little red color there, so it'll tell me where that light switch hole needs to be. Now the light switch hole is bigger than that, of course, so this is just a guide hole for me to do. And what I'm going to do is drill a hole big enough with my Dremel. The Dremel, there's just all it is a cut tool, and then I'll put it down there so you can see that it'll actually cut all the way below the line. And this round circle that comes with my Dremel will keep me straight on the wood, so while I'm cutting I'll be flush with the wood and it won't be too bad. And then what I'll do is I'll cut out the little square, and then I'll see where I'm at with that, and then I'll make it just big enough to drop this in there. And then you want to go in small increments and go just a little, otherwise you get this big wide hole that's just not necessary. And that's how we're going to do it. And we'll cut each one of these out, drop the switch in there, and then if we do our job right, we'll be able to fix it in such a way that the covers will be the exact same width as the board. And we'll just drop them on there, screw them onto the thing, and we're done. Easy peasy. And that's how we'll do it.
Actually, do one for them.
Terrible intro music. Simply terrible. Alright, so my wife is insisting that you guys want to see this first one cut. So as you can see, all I'm doing is I'm going to go right into the center of this red mark that I got going here. And I'm going to turn my Dremel on and basically just drill a hole. Now that I've drilled the hole, I'm going to use this cut tool . Once we get the hole in there, that'll be the good start to start dropping this down in there. Probably should have done this outside. Wife's gonna kill me. So, all right, that's it. Woo. Terrible intro. All right, so I did the Dremel. I made a big pile of mess in the floor. Wife's probably going to be upset. But we drilled out a hole. This sets in there just perfectly. And then we will be able to put our light switch cover on, make it nice and straight. Once it's all screwed in and down to the wood, it'll be perfect. So that's how we're going to get the light switches in the wood. That's how I did it. I'm sure there's people out there who's got like a fancy router and all that, and they're like, I would have done it cleaner and prettier and all that stuff, but this is what I have, so this is what I'm using. So little hole that's in there, it's done. My little motor holes are in there. Now I'm going to go ahead and put each light fixture in the thing, and then once that's all done, I'll start staining it, and I'll make another video. You'll have another terrible intro music thing, and then I'll show you how I stained it. We're using an espresso stain colors. It makes a pretty color, and then we're gonna paint all of the parts, and then once we get it all set up and wired, we'll start doing the hard stuff, putting the motors in and wiring up the motors and doing that kind of stuff. So there it is. See you later. Alright, so I'm making the troughs, which are these right here. So basically I'm taking a 1-inch T by 3/4 inch, and I'm cutting in half with the chop saw. And I can tell you, if you don't have a good handle on this when you're trying to cut it, it's going to obliterate. So it will cut beautifully, but you have to be able to hold it still. So if you don't think you can hold this still, I would suggest that you get someone who can. What I did was I put one of the poles on there, I put an end on there, so I had a better hold on it. Cuts it off easy as you please. But if you don't have a good hold on it, you will do that and you get band-aids on your fingers. So make sure that you have a good hold and that it doesn't move, or it will obliterate and it goes everywhere. All right, well, on to the next. Okay, so here we are. I have stained the wood using the espresso stain, and as you can see, each one is getting almost dry. It's looking good. The wood is stained. It's a nice pretty brown, just like the other one that I made before. Same here. All the holes are cut out for the motors and the switches. Not as pretty as I'd like on the switches cut out, but I don't really have that cut tool, so I had to improvise. But my switch covers will cover it. You'll never know. Now over here, I went and spray painted all the parts and pieces that we'll need. So we have our flanges are painted, they're waiting to dry. The troughs that I made here are all painted, and then these are the things that'll come in for the drying racks, and then these will be what hooks onto the motors so they'll spin. So it's all pretty good. It's right here. It's pretty good. We're gonna let it all dry, and then once it dries, we'll come back here and start assembling and putting together the whole box and the unit. And then hopefully we'll get it done. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, maybe another coat. We'll repaint and put another coat on there if we need to. It looks like we're gonna need to. I can still see some barcodes every now and then. And then this will be painted, this will be put together, and then we'll start wiring it up and fixing the motors where they'll hold the deal. And then we're almost done. All we got to do now is put the box together and wire it up. Alright, so here we are. I'm just making the legs of this table. Before I made the legs kind of long, and I put the box in the middle of the legs. But when Farrah was trying to use it, she found that it was really cumbersome to have it so far back from the wall. So what I did was went with a wider base on here, and I placed this here. So as I cut them, I'm actually going to put the box right back here, because our only worry is that it tips forward, and it's not going to tip forward because, one, the legs won't let it go that way, and two, we'll have a cross beam going here that will have all our shelves sitting on there, so each cup will be in its own tray, which is what this was. So, and then all we're going to do is take some wood glue. We're going to stain it first. We're going to take some wood glue and glue it right onto there, and that'll make our little dip in there for the tray, so your crossboard can set in there securely. And that's it. Easy stuff. So far, we are almost there. So now we're going to stain this. We're going to get the stuff going, and then we'll start with the rest. And then we'll start wiring it up and drilling out our motors and getting them secure and doing all that stuff. So we'll see you then. Okay, so now we're gonna hook one of these to the motor. It'll hook like that so the motor can spin and this will spin with it. You want to try and get them as straight as possible. I've done a pretty good job here of getting them straight, and you want them to be as firm as you can. So I'm using these little grommets here, these sleeves for lack of a better word. You can buy them at Home Depot, and that's the package that it looks like. And they're too small to go on the motor. So if you look, they won't quite fit. So what I've been having to do is take my drill.
So please be careful.
And open them up a bit. Now once I do that, they'll fit right on the motor. So now I look on the motor and we've got to put a hole in here and that. Now I've got these little screws here, but they won't fit through that hole that's put in the motor. I don't know what size of hole that is, but I don't have it. So
drill again.
So then I come to the motor, I take it. You want to make sure your fingers aren't in the way and you're as straight as possible. I seat it in there. And I just bore out the hole. Now once that hole's bored out, my little bolts will fit through there. That's how I do it. Now, then I take this and I hold it here and I drill a hole right through the middle of it. Once I get through, I straighten up my drill and I punch through the other side. I try to make that as straight as possible.
Can you show them what you meant? Because he made the one hole bigger first time and then he put one in the side.
So I slid it through there, and then what that does is I can take my motor and I can set it right through there and line it right up. And then it's lined up to my motor. Now, once we've done that, I have to take this and drill another hole. Now, I've done the measurements. I know that if I drill somewhere right around the second rim, that I'm okay. That's where it'll put me. So I'm gonna take this.
Please be careful if you're doing this.
And then I'm going to drill through. Once I punch through, I straighten up and punch through the other side. So I try as hard as I can to be as straight as possible. And then I just slide my little...
I can't see you slide.
I just slide the little sleeve in there and you can see, hopefully, that it goes all the way through.
Yeah.
Now, once that's all the way through, I take my little bolt and I put it in there just barely. And what that does is it keeps the grommet from moving around while I'm sliding it onto my motor. So then I take my motor and I slide it onto there, and then I just push it through. And once that pushes through,
and no, he didn't hurt his finger during this step. It was during a different step.
yeah, I actually said earlier in the video where what happened was I was drilling through the I was chop sawing these here. If you don't hold these perfectly still when you're cutting through them, it'll move, and when it cocks, it'll obliterate it. And what I did was I ran my finger into the side of the saw, not the blade, just the body of the saw. My hands were out of the way. So I put something on the end so I could get better grip, and then I cut just perfect. So for me, this has been not without injury. My wife is okay with that because she gets this spinner. She is completely fine with me losing fingers for this.
I am not. You still have to have a day job. You need your fingers for that one.
So, and then I've got these little bolts. This is just a little pack. You can buy these all day long at Home Depot. They have little bolts and little nuts and some washers and some screws. And it's not hard to find. It really isn't. These things are everywhere. And these little bolts will go through there. And then I just take my wrench, I hold the nut,
Just tightening it.
and I just kind of tighten it down so it kind of collapses on that little.
And again, we're not saying this is the way, we're just saying this is our way.
And it does it. Now, I have found that one or two of these are a little too wobbly, like this one. I don't like it, that when it wobbles. So what I do is I back it out. Some of them haven't been wobbly at all, but you know, none of this is an exact science. I don't have a drill press. I don't have things that'll put these in exactly. So what I do is I take it out, I back it out, I'm sorry this takes so long, guys.
Yeah, it's good you're showing them in case it's...
It's gonna happen because, you know, none of this is an exact science. I don't have a way to be exact, so I have to come up with ways to make it work.
That's what you should call this. Make it work, Turner.
And then what I'll do is I'll just take a little bit of electric tape, just a little bit, because if you put too much on there, it won't slide back over there. I wrap it around there, and then I pull it really, really tight.
And I know you guys are gonna ask, well, what if it gets heated up and...
Okay, hasn't been a problem for any of it at all since I've been doing this. And then I just punch a hole through the electrical tape, just like that.
Knock on wood, we haven't had any issues, and I've been using my Turner almost non-stop.
Well, and as you can see, now it's a super tight fit.
He's just screwing that back through.
We just got to find that hole in there. I think maybe my tape's in the way.
Too much tape.
Well, it just slid down, so my hole isn't where it was. Still slipping on that tape. There we go.
Just retape it.
Should be good now.
Will that tape sticking out underneath hurt it at all?
And this is what I was saying, is if you put too much on there, it'll cause you problems. That would be these problems.
He's showing you how to get past it.
Yeah. These things are rife with problems when you're building them, because if it were easy, everybody'd do it. I wonder if I'm just sticking that in there upside down. That's why that's so hard. Yep. All right.
That was the problem.
Yeah.
Had it upside down. He's tired. He's been working on these for a while.
All day to be exact.
And we're in Texas, so it was super hot today.
But if you're not patient, you don't have a straight eye, my suggestion is invite your buddy who likes to sit down and put small things together. It's
Tedious.
it's not hard as far as like to figure out. You can do it. But some of this stuff does take talent with the drill. And if you're not real good, you may have to try it a few times, but this isn't impossible stuff. This isn't the hardest thing ever. I mean, you just have to be patient. Understand that, these things, they're a little touchy, but if you stick with them and you stay at it,
You'll have your turner. And it'll be awesome.
it will work out. And it doesn't wobble. And like I said, if there's a little dip in it or a slight movement, you can just tighten it down a little more. And remember, that's gonna be okay, because the way I designed these, they're gonna set on these trays and turn. So it's never gonna hold the weight. As a matter of fact, I don't think these things ever will hold weight. It's just not what these little motors are designed to do. They're just not designed to do that. These little motors are not gonna hold a bunch of weight. They're not. You gotta have that tray there, or your motors aren't gonna spin straight no matter what. And there it is. Right in there, and it's good to go.
So now we are going to do the rest of them, and then we will come back and show you wiring.
Wiring's not too hard. It's not bad. You just gotta pay attention to what you're doing. Take your time. So the wife is insisting that some of you may not know how to wire a plug. So I have three wire plug here. You have the green, which goes to the green screw there. It's a ground. And then you have a white and a black. It doesn't matter which side of the ones you plug on, as long as one's on one side and one's on the other. And you just screw them into there and then close your cap back up. And it's a done deal. Easy stuff.
Dun, 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 dun. Welcome to Jack's Turner Making. Dun, dun.
He's way better than
That
Dad.
was way more enthusiastic than the oldest. So here's the deal. we're starting to wire this up. So what we've done is we put all the motors to a top end wire to the switch.
Hold on, let's back up. You didn't tell them about gluing that together.
I put glue on the bottom of the board and then I put them together. It just holds them together so I can build it. Once I get finished, I can drill my pilot holes and screw them in without them trying to fall all over the place. Wood glue is a really great thing to use because it'll hold the wood. Wood glue will hold it pretty good. But something this big, you should probably put a few screws in a round, like on the like this far down, and then that far down, and that far down, just to hold it together. So anyway, back to what I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted.
Sorry.
This is day 2. I haven't been allowed to shower or eat until this is done.
You're so mistreated.
So what we got here now is we're going to wire up this switch. So we put the motor to the switch like we talked about earlier. Now we're going to put the power to the switch. Now the neutral wires is just that other wire in this motor. So what we've done is we've ran all the neutral wires together and then ran them into the neutral on the plug. I drilled a hole in the bottom of the board here because Farah noticed when it's coming out of the back, you can't push it up against the wall. So I took it out of the bottom because it's going to be raised anyway because of the stands, and that will allow Farah to push it all the way up against the wall.
So can you go over, because maybe someone doesn't know like what the neutral is versus.
You have all these motors have 2 wires that run the motor, and it's a direct current, so it doesn't really matter which wire is which. One needs to be hooked into the switch, one needs to be hooked into the neutral to complete the circuit. So this wire went into the switch.
The blue one?
Both blue. This blue wire went to the switch, which as you can see is plugged in right there. And then this wire went to the neutral bundle, which is right here, which all ties into the neutral bundle down there.
And those are just your wires that come out of the motor, the blue ones.
Correct. And then these wires, what I did was I put all the wires into one central location, and then I ran a pigtail into the neutral. And I did the same down there. I put all the blue wires into one location and then ran a pigtail. And then this bundle here is my hot, but I just haven't gotten to where I want to put all them together yet. And then once it's all wired up, you're basically just bringing all your wires out from your switches, your red wires, and then we're going to bundle them all together. And then there will be another switch here. We'll bundle them all right here, and then we'll have one wire bundling here. And then it'll be done, and then we'll do the same with the green wire. The green wire is a ground, and all your switches have a ground right there. And I'm just going to run ground, 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 ground.
Green wire to green screw.
Pretty much. And then what it'll do, unless I'm completely out of my mind, this all should complete the circuit. So each switch will work each motor. It's not really hard. You just have to pay attention to what you're doing and keep your wiring straight. It's pretty easy. And then once we get this done, we'll put the back on. We'll screw on all the switches to where they're all pretty and mounted. And then we'll put the back on with the same way with the glue. And then we'll put the top on the same way with the glue. And then once all the glue's dry, I'm going to put pilot holes in there and glue it and put some screws in it to keep it safe. Just to keep it together, and go from there.
Will you show them how to do one of the wires? And watch you do one of the wires?
Yeah. The wires aren't hard. They're just going to come up here. And all you do is you come to the wire. You make a hook. know I'm probably making all the electricians in this place crazy. I'm not an electrician.
And there was a lot of things that would have made this easier, but we just didn't have them on hand, so.
And then what I do is I kind of push the wire around so it's all in there kind of neat. And then I just screw it down. That's it. And then it should be all wired up. And that is it. And then I'm going to come over here and like this one, I've got this one cut to a certain length to go to meet over here. So I'll cut this one, give it a little room, we'll meet it here. And then this one will come out and meet here, and then the pigtail will meet here, and then both wires will get tied into the black. And we'll do the same for the ground, and then we're done.
So, how come you're doing all the pinks to meet together, to meet down there?
Huh?
I don't understand. So some other people, so why are you taking all the pinks and connecting them together?
The pink is where the power is.
So you're just trying to get it all down there?
It all has to be here. So I'm making these junctions so the power can come here and then disseminate to each of the switches. If I don't do that, I gotta wire them all to right here, and that takes a lot more wire than we have. I don't have enough wire to run them all down here. So I'm conserving my wire by using the wire nuts.
Awesome. And this is what it's starting to look like, guys. And once you put your cover switches over it, you won't even see.
Yeah, the holes will be gone. Everything will be gone. I don't have a fancy cutout tool or anything like that, so I just had to make holes big enough for my switches to set in.
Just don't make them too big.
No, because then you can't make your hole any bigger than your switch cover. Or it won't hide.
Okay. So now he's just gonna finish that. I guess we can watch him for a few minutes.
It'll be boring. Nobody wants to watch this.
So we'll come back when we're at the next step.
Dun, 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 dun. Welcome to Dad Project. We are making a 6-cup turner, giving you to your host, person, Dad.
Yeah, these kids are way more excited than I am. Okay, so we've gotten it all wired up. We've got our bundles here, and our bundles here, and we bundled up the hot. We bundled up the neutrals, and we put one hot, one neutral on there. All we have left is the grounds. But as you can see now, it's working. Everything is ready to go. It's turning. The switches will work. Now with these particular motors, if you switch them off, count to 3, and switch them back on, they'll turn in the opposite direction. So you can have them turn either way that you want. So it works out kind of nice. So what we're going to do now is that we're all wired up. I've got everything I need. I'm going to wire the back plate, I'm going to glue the back plate onto the back here. Get all that wire put in there the way it's supposed to go and get that done. First, of course, I've got to put the ground wire together, but that won't take very long. So it's all wired up, everything's good to go, and everything works. Now I can put the back on because I know the wiring is good.
Can you tell them how you go over how you use their plug-in wire that makes it all run?
Well, the plug-in wire has hot, neutral, and ground. So you take your hot wires from the switches into here. You take your neutrals, bundle them up, put them on there, and then your ground I showed you earlier each has those wires that go into the switches. And that's it. And then it's done. There's no more to do, nothing else to worry with. And then what we'll do is we'll put this back on there, and that closes everything off, and then it's done. And then we're going to work on some design changes I did for the stands, just because it gives it a little more stability and a little ease with putting these things on here. And then we'll go over setting these to the proper height, because you've got all this thread area that you can go to where you can raise it and lower it to the exact height that you need on your turner.
And what you put in between it to help it stay.
Yeah, and what you put in between the tablets. So, okay, that's it. And
Just gonna put the back on and
yep,
ground wire.
we're one big step closer.
Do you need to show them how to do the ground wire?
Nope.
Welcome to Dad's Project. Here we don't sleep, we don't eat, we get the job done. Here's your host, Dad!
Oh, pretty good.
So, here we are. It's a finished product. All the spinners are working. Everything's turning. All the switches are beautiful, tagged up, screwed up, put in there. Everything's on. Everything works. I was originally just going to do 2 end pieces, but then Farrah said that she'd like to be able to move the slide back and forth
Individually.
in case she has something heavier. So I was able to set it up to where she could do 2 at a time, and she could move them.
You're talking about this part.
No.
It moves.
And then it's drying right now. It's getting everything done. The plug worked great. Everything going from there. I've got it kind of shimmed up so all the glue will dry, and then we'll slowly start deciding on where we're going to put nails to, or screws, I mean, to put everything in there. It's a done deal. Farrah hated it.
I do not hate it. I love it.
So,
We just gotta screw everything down still.
yeah, all of the flanges got to be screwed down. That's what's left. And that is literally when you're screwing your flanges down, you just want to remember to put some small pilot holes so you don't split your wood. Pine will split. You think, oh, it'll be fine. I'll just screw that screw in there and it will split all the way down. And then you have a big piece of junk. So do your pilot holes. That's the best advice I could give you. Do your pilot holes. On this one we did 2 slow ones at the end. So these are 1 revolution per minute. Because if you're doing detailed stuff, you need it to spin, but if it spins too fast, you can't get your detail in there. And then these are all 3 revolutions per minute, so they spin a bit faster, and they go there. We built it that way so she could try and see if she liked these slower motors. The beauty is if she doesn't like the slower motors, they're easy to pop out, easy to put back on, easy to slide back in, and it's done. So this is it. This is the done deal.
6-cup turner.
It took me a little over a day and a half to get it all together and all done. It's a big, big thing. My advice to you is start with a 2-cup turner, because I was able to use a lot of stuff from when I built the 2-cup turner to put this into the 6-cup turner. But it's built, it's done. I don't know what else to say.
And we left the ends open like we told you before, so
I'm always worried about heat.
The ventilation.
These little motors do make heat. People have said they've closed them up and it's been fine. They haven't had any problems, but air can go through there. It keeps the motors cool. You know, it keeps the stuff, the heat from the motors can escape. At the end of the day, I just feel like it's a safety issue, and I don't want problems. I don't want them overheating.
here's the back, and I'll be able to move every 2 forward and back if I have a shorter stick for like wine glasses, or if I want a shorter stick to put something taller on them. And then there's the back. And then that's it. All we gotta do is screw.
It was a lot harder to build 6 than it was to build 2. It took a lot longer. But they're all on there. It's all done. It looks good. I feel good about it.
Yay, there you have it.
So Farrah saying that you guys would need to know how I put these together. What I did was took a piece of one of the shorter poles for like wine glasses that I knew I was going to cut off, and I cut off the piece. And I painted it, and then when I painted it, I have this little gadget right here. This is a PVC cutter. All you have to do is put your little thing in there, and then keep clicking it, and this will cut this in half. Pretty slick. So once it's cut in half, about that big, you put that in there like that. Oh well, I guess I could have showed you. This is also, I put that in there a little too good because I needed it that height. So this just screws onto the flange, and then this sets on that for a spacer, and then the T just pops right on.
What that does, it helps that T not to be moving when you're putting your epoxy on your cups.
And it won't wobble that way, it won't mess around, it stays sturdy, and it's done. And that is how it's done. I'm done. I will end up putting some more of these without this,
For the drying rack.
just for drying racks across the top, and I'll probably put 8 more flanges.
Just like on my
across the
first
top.
one. But all you'll have to do, you guys don't need a video of that. All he'll do is just screw them in all the way across the top there.
Yeah, the holes are already done. You just drill your pilot hole, screw them in, and I'll screw them in across the top. I had a wart board in the top. That's why that split is there in the top. I hate it, but I didn't have any choice, and she wants this done so she can use it. So I will have to let it go. But since it was warped, I cut it, flipped it, put it back on there, and now at least, it'll set flat. But I may go buy a straighter board and put it back on there. I didn't screw anything down on that top board for that reason. I'm really not happy with it, but when I replace it, it'll set on there nice and neat, and then there won't be any blemishes in this at all. It's pretty, it goes good, it gets done. She's gonna put it in a closet. Then we have like a 8-foot wide closet that she's gonna put it in, and then that way she can shut the doors and dog hair and all that don't get in there. I'm sure she'll post a video when it's all done and set.
You have it.